and Sigmund heard the arrival of this nephew long before he saw him, for Sinfiola had declared the shrubbery along the edge of the trail his enemy, and he was killing it all with great sweeps of his stick sword and singing a battle tune as he went. He was fascinated by the hall, he said, which was a cave. He said nothing about food until Signy suggested eating. Mother says that a Volsung does not fear hunger. A Volsung certainly does not fear hunger, my nephew, but a wise Volsung eats when he may. Take this meal and knead it into a dough, while I gather sticks for the fire. And when Sigmund returned, a misshapen lump of dough lay in the kneading trough. It might be a little crunchy. There was something in it that was alive. It's not alive now, and I broke up the bones the best I could. We won't eat that bread. You have kneaded a poisonous snake into the dough, but Volsungs do not succumb to poison. The king and his men searched for this third child, feared lost to wolves. Signy looked at the bush, saw the bright scarlet triumphant scrap of fabric, and knew it was time to wait. She waited for the story she heard filtering in from the far edges of the land, stories of fields burning when no lightning fell from the sky, stories of wells gone bad, stories of cattle with their throats torn out, stories of two wolves, an old one and a young one, seen at the edge of the forest at the edge of the day. And those wolves had piercing, glacier pale, blue eyes. After only a few years, Sigmund knew that the time had come. He laid his plans. He and Sigmund traveled through the night. Signy met them outside the hall, and she put them in a storeroom that was hers alone to wait throughout the day, as the Gauts went about their business and then gathered in the hall for the late day meal. Signy's two youngest sons, boys she had given the king with no thought of making them Volsungs, played outside that storage shed. "Give me the ball." "You can have it if you can catch it." And the eldest threw wide. The younger jumped, fell back against the door. The door opened. He fell on his back, staring up at two strange, fully armed warriors. He opened his mouth and died, spitted on Sinfiotla's sword. The younger ran, shouting, "Father!" shouting of thieves, shouting of warriors. Signy grabbed him by the shoulder. He died with Sinfiotla's spear in his back. Signy cradled her dead child and watched as the infuriated Gauts poured out of the hall, and a wave of them took down Sigmund and Sinfiotla. The king shouted, "Do not give them the honor of a sword death. I will take care of them." He did not recognize them, and they refused to answer his questions. "They will go in the pit." A hole cut into living stone and separated into two parts by a slab of stone and roofed over. There they may lie and listen to each other die of thirst and hunger. And after Sigmund and Sinfiotla were in the pit, Signy served the ale she had already brewed for that night, the ale she had brewed most carefully. And then she waited. And when the Volsungs, the Gauts, began to collapse into sodden, snoring heaps, and when all was quiet, she tiptoed to the side of the king's bed. She pulled the sword, that sword that the one-eyed god had left for her brother, from the scabbard, and she plunged that sword deep into a ham hanging in the smoke. She wrapped ham and sword. She took it outside. She slid it into the cell. It landed at Sinfjotli's feet. He had never seen the sword before, but he knew it. He slid the tip above the slab of stone. Sigmund took the other end, and they worked together like two men on a saw to cut the slab of stone in half so that it crumbled and fell, and they were able to climb up to the top of the cell and slide out from beneath the roof, where Signy waited for them next to the snoring, drunken guards. They brought straw from the stables. They soaked that straw with lamp oil, and Sigmund took a torch down from a bracket on the wall. He placed Sinfjotli's hand next to his. Signy's hand next to his. He placed Signy's hand next to his, and when Sinfjotli reached to, he said, "No." He said, "Kinslaying will bring you bad luck." And Sinfjotli said, "I am not afraid of bad luck." And together the three of them dragged the burning torch through the oil-sodden straw around the hall. And then Sigmund shouted, "Wake up, you people of the Gouts. Wake up and hear my voice. My quarrel is not with you, but with your king. Come out and save yourselves. Wake up, Sigurd, king of the Gouts. Wake up and hear my voice. I am the fire in your field. I am the poison in your wells. I tore the throats from your cattle. I am Sigmund the Volsung. I am the wolf, and I hold my sword." The king woke up. He reached for his scabbard and found it empty. He reached across his bed and found his wife gone. And he knew that the luck that makes a king had drained from his life. He closed his eyes again and waited to die. Outside the burning hall, Sigmund said to Signy, "I will take you back. We will go to our father's hall, and there you will live and not have to marry unless you choose to." But she said, "No. I gave the years of my life and the lives of my children for vengeance, but I continue to be the king's wife." "What of Sinfjotli? He has lost his father. Must he lose his mother as well?" "Sinfjotli has not lost his father." And when Sigmund looked into her face, he remembered the scythe woman who had visited him and her glacier-pale, piercing blue eyes. Signy kissed him and kissed Sinfjotli, turned and walked into the hall, stood silhouetted against the fire as the roof fell and a shower of sparks rose into the sky. And in that shower of sparks was the face of a one-eyed god, the one-eyed god who watched Sigmund and Sinfjotli return to the hall of the Volsungs.